Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. Today is the day that you started over. Today is the day that you got out of bed and you got to moan because it was another day. Oh, another day. But what you didn't realize is that you were given a gift. You were given a gift that someone else didn't get. You were given a gift of more time. So use it because you are a billionaire. And if you don't believe it, stay to the end and I'll explain it to you. But today I have on the line, I have Dr. Julie Gatza. And we're going to talk about your health. She's a health educator and one of the nation's top chiropractic physicians with more than 26 years of clinical practice, during which she has assisted, listen to this, more than 25,000 patients. She's getting close to the number of friends that I have on Facebook. How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well. You know, something came up when you came on my radar. First of all, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to digress. What came up was leaky gut. And I broached this subject with my wife as we were sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm researching about my next guest." And she says, "What is your topic going to be?" And I said, "Leaky gut." And she was like, "Wait a minute, I have Crohn's. It can't get more leaky than that."
Correct.
She's like, "So what other thing is leaky gut?" So I said, "You know what? I am not going to go to the Google universe. I'm going to wait till the doc gets here and I'm going to ask her point blank, what is leaky gut and what causes it?"
Excellent. Well, leaky gut is, let's take a look at normal first. Let's take a piece of fish. You eat a piece of fish, you break it down, you get the nutrition from the fish by tiny holes in your small intestine that allow just the nutrition in. Those nutrients go into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream, like a superhighway, carries all that nutrition to the to the bones and the muscles and the tendons and the ligaments and organs and skin. That is normal. That's what's supposed to happen with every single person that has a body.
Right.
When you have leaky gut, the reasons it starts we can go into, but it's food that you cannot break down adequately. So over time, it irritates the tiny holes in the small intestine. They now become large and inflamed. And not only do they leak in the undigested food that isn't broken down, what happens is the immune system recognizes this as a foreign particle. So it uses up all sorts of energy to make white blood cells to attack what's in the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. So you have unbroken down food, nutrients that now aren't available to the body, and you have the body attacking what just leaked through because of chronic irritation to the small intestine.
Oh, so what are some of the symptoms of this? Is this those people who you see are clinically skinny, but they look round in the middle when they shouldn't, look like they shouldn't be? Or that's what's permeating my mind, because if you have this stuff, you're just going to build around the middle. But you tell me.
Well, that's true. That is a symptom that somebody would definitely be displaying if they have this. But my husband and I have been in practice for many years, and we would say that over 90% of the people that we have seen have some form of leaky gut.
Oh.
Right. And it's our American diet, all the reasons why, but the symptoms would start off as nothing that you would know of until you have maybe some gas, some bloating, some irritation, stomach aches, not as much energy, you can't lose weight, you can't gain weight. Then as that progresses, now you've got an autoimmune disorder because the body's attacking what's going into your bloodstream, which is connected and attached onto some of your blood cells. So now it's attacking you. Yes, Crohn's disease is the most severe form of leaky gut, but so are all these autoimmune disorders, skin disorders of all kinds that people aren't aware of. You can see circles under the eyes, puffiness in the face, a jaw that's no longer cut, bloated, and the list goes on because every single disease usually starts at the digestive system first.
That's what I always talk about, and in recent times, they have been saying how our gut is our secondary brain. It is our other intelligence that links everything together. And it's so weird. So when you have these items here, so does this cause inflammation in other parts of your body as well? Because you say there's white blood cells, and if white blood cells have attacked, then that becomes kind of like a pussy situation, and then that's got to go somewhere, right?
That's right. So any weak link you've got in your body is where it's basically you're going to be aware. If somebody uses their hands a lot, they're going to have achy joints in their hands. Maybe they have an old back injury. Now they've got a chronically unstable low back. Maybe they're a migraine person. So now they're getting migraines that have to do with digestion first. Little children with, even chronic earaches, it starts also, often at the digestive system. So any inflammation that you've got in the body often is caused by the digestive system not being efficient.
Now, how can we start on the road to repair these scenarios? One of the things you talk about is, the food, this high fructose corn syrup, synthetic food that we've made, that started off in the 50s with, hey, now you don't have to worry about it. It's in a box. And right. It just progressed from there to where, you used to have 4 salad dressings. Now you have 400 salad dressings on the aisle, 400 bags of potato chips, so forth and so on. How does one get away from that, especially with the bombardment that we have for food and convenience?
Well, I think it first and foremost starts with a show like yours, because with no education, everyone's going to continue on the same path.
Yeah.
So I spend a tremendous amount of time as a doctor educating and lecturing and on shows because it's not normal and common knowledge. I would always say, as a rule of thumb, would your grandparents be proud of what you just made and what you just fed your children?
Heck no. My grandmother made everything from scratch. As a matter of fact, my grandmother got up in the morning, cooked breakfast at like 5 a.m., and it was on the stove till like 7. By that time you got up, there was actually dinner cooking on the stove, and it was all stuff that was fresh. When I say fresh, it was a starch, a meat, and some boiled vegetable.
Correct. I mean, that is what a human body needs. Despite how technologically advanced we've become, our bodies are still the same thing that was here 2,000 years ago. And our food has changed. Our soil has changed. We use Roundup on things. Our seeds have changed. And now we're up against how do we get away with being able to get good food? And yet now our whole idea of what is okay for the body has changed, because anything in a package box or can and you can microwave, it's not food. We call it unfood.
Unfood. I'm going to get to that in a minute because I have this other question. What about all these diets? Keto diet, grapefruit diet, low carb diet, high carb diet. What gives? Do you have?
I'm a fan of most diets because usually it means they've stepped outside of their normal sort of lazy or not knowing eating patterns. And if they're following something, usually those diets have some merit. Right. So anyone who's following some plan or program, whichever works for them best, gives them more energy, has them lose weight, gives them an adequate amount of food in the day, and keeps the body doing better than it was, heck, I'm all for it, and different diets for different people. So I never want to bash diets. There is a normal way that I believe that people should be eating who are just trying to exist in life without being on some crazy diet. And the same way that I would teach my patients how to feed their children, same as feeding, their husband.
So what about, what is unfoods?
Well, get a picture of a fish and think of the fish. It has healthy fats and enzymes and vitamins and minerals and protein in it. Now put that up against a box of French fries. That box of French fries has unhealthy fats and no enzymes and no minerals and no protein. So what it is it's delicious. You are feeling satisfied by eating it, but it's basically mass that goes into your digestive system that you get no nutrition from. It actually takes more vitamins and minerals and nutrients from your body to break it down than it ever gave to you. So it's a negative food that we call unfood.
So does this also constitute store-bought French fries such as Burger King, McDonald's versus I cut the potatoes and I made the French fries at home?
Correct. That's more correct. You didn't have to add anything weird to it. You know exactly what the ingredients were, and it's actually food. Now, is it the best of foods? Not really, but heck, it's still a food.
Right. Yeah, because I found a French fry from McDonald's. I remember this 1991. I was cleaning out my car. It had been there a couple months. It was pristine. Exactly. It was literally pristine. So I did something about a year and a half ago. I was struggling. I was 220 pounds. I worked out, but I had this puffiness. Yeah, that's what my wife called me, puffy. And I couldn't get rid of the puffiness. And I thought I looked okay until I looked at a picture and I was like, good God, I'm big. What it was a layer of fat that was shaped by some muscle. And I see this all the time in the gym. And it wasn't until I tried something vastly different, way that I had never tried before, that the weight started to shed. So how can people kind of track or change their dietary habits to combat leaky gut?
One of the common things that I would have people eliminate would be most grains, because the grains have been changed in our country. They're not doing us a heck of a lot of good. We don't really need the grains. We can get all sorts of other nutrition from vegetables. And one of the major things I have people do is eliminate most of the grains from their diet, as well as most dairy products.
So specifically, when you say grains, what are you talking about in conventional foods so that people literally have a picture in their head?
It would be the wheat products in general, which is pizza, pasta, crackers, bread, sandwiches, bagels. I know, all the very American, easy, best foods, but it's just not healthy food. And, I've been a doctor for 28 years, and pretty much this whole time we have found hidden food sensitivities being a huge portion of why people are puffy, why they are inflamed, why their digestion's not working. And, within a couple of weeks of just them eliminating it, 100%, you can't, touch down a little bit. If you do it 100%, you let the body relax enough, and it starts to function the way it's supposed to. So you start dumping this inflammation.
So I know you're only like 27, so you might not remember the 70s like I do. And like nobody had peanut allergies, or very few people had peanut allergies. I mean, you really didn't hear about allergies. It's probably one child in a class of 30 who it was greater than that. It was less than that. One child in the school, and I'm thinking back, who had some kind of allergic reaction to food. Now it seems to be commonplace. And what's changed?
I think the soil isn't being treated correctly and not remineralized. I think that the seeds are changing. And I think that the Roundup and the pesticides have done such a number that we don't even have those old time seeds and soil. And, maybe you would if you had some heirloom seeds and you grew them in your backyard.
Yeah.
That would be adequate to what we were raised on. However, it's vastly changed. What we used to find as far as food sensitivities when we first started practicing 28 years ago, it was common enough, but I'm seeing it unbelievably in so many other foods that were sort of, not very common at all. So it's changed a lot.
So when you get a nice Midwestern person, say somebody from Michigan, where I'm from, Indiana, Ohio. I'm in Indiana now because it's all the same. And they come down to Florida and they see you, they're on vacation. They say, let me stop by. I need to get adjusted or something like that. And you run the spiel and they go, I'm buying in. Where do I start?
So I have them start first with enzymes. we're supposed to be making adequate amount of enzymes in our body. And once again, we're not as efficient as we used to be. So a very high quality enzyme will help them break down whatever meal that they're eating. So I use one called AbsorbAide, which has all the different factors to help break down the different types of foods. That's where I start. And I would say my whole career, I would always give any patient, child or adult, enzymes to break down their foods. So that's where I would first start.
Okay. So you made me think of a question when you said enzymes, because you hear this promoted frequently in media, which I very rarely watch, and they say, eat this yogurt. And yogurt is a dairy product, which can cause some lactose issues or some other, let's say we become a bugle, for some people. So, a lot of people think that's how they're going to get their enzymes, through these Greek yogurts and things like that. What would you say with that? In addition that you said, stay away from dairy.
Well, the yogurts themselves are usually eaten for probiotics, which is a whole separate topic from the enzymes in general. And in general, I would have people stay away from yogurt. I love it. It's a treat for me if I'm going to eat it, but it's not a food that I would put on somebody's list as good for a body that you're trying to get healthy.
All right, cool. So you say, start with the enzymes. All right, I've got the enzymes, doc, got this nice little bottle, went to the health food store. Now what?
So next would be eliminate your grains. So let's take out your wheat, your dairy, your Pop-Tarts, the bagels, the spaghetti, and let's take those out, and let's start giving you a lot more protein and a lot more steamed green vegetables. So
let's dive into proteins real quick. What do you recommend for protein? Because there are green proteins, because if you think of a gorilla or a rhinoceros or all these animals that are just huge and dominant in the world, most of them are herbivores versus being carnivores, which are meat eaters. Mm-hmm. So give me the list.
Well, the list would be, if you're the normal American, all the chicken and fish and meat and eggs are all fine in my book. If you're a vegan, vegetarian, you can't be lazy about doing it. India is a country that basically doesn't eat much meat, but they have done a tremendous amount of work to prepare the beans and soak them for 2 days and do all the correct things that these legumes and beans need to have done so that they are available to the body. You shouldn't just open them from a can, dump them in a bowl, and call it a meal. It has to be prepared correctly, and that's why they can exist as a culture with very little meat protein and still do fine health-wise. But, it takes a lot more work to be a vegan or a vegetarian if you're going to do it correctly. Do
you have any information regarding the preparation of legumes and beans properly?
I do know that if you're supposed to soak them for 2 days. And the reason being is when you soak them, it releases their own enzyme process. When you don't soak them, you're putting in something that is harder to digest than it is actually nutritious. So that's why the soaking is important. Oats, steel cut whole oats should be soaked overnight. Nuts, not toasted, raw whole nuts should be soaked overnight because it helps to release this enzymatic process. And if you were to ask your grandmother or your great grandmother, what is the correct way to prepare this? They had these bits and pieces of data handed down because that was the normal. That is the correct way to do it. It just got lost in the 70s when TV dinners came out and the microwaves got invented, and a woman couldn't be in the household because they needed 2 incomes. And so women had to go to work. It wasn't a matter of choice in everyone's situation. Yeah. And that got lost in the preparation.
I know you're absolutely right, because I'm an avid bean eater. My wife is not. And she says, why do you have this bowl of beans soaking? I'm like, they're magic. Just watch them. There's going to be no water left in about a day. She's like, whatever. She comes back. She goes, where's the water? I go, I'm adding more because they're not done. They're going to increase in volume by at least 50% or 100%. Yeah, because they double in size. So
Right.
I do understand what you're talking about. And it also gets rid of some of the things that cause a lot of bloating and people reacting to it as well.
Correct.
So there was some other item that, it struck me, and it was in a conversation with my wife and I when we were going through your information regarding vegetables and raw versus unraw.
Mm-hmm.
So explain this to me, because you said steam, because we got into a debate about this. I'm like, I'm an African American, sweetie. A lot of things, and I'm not calling you sweetie, I was talking about my wife. A lot of times, most of the side dishes were vegetables.
Correct.
And they were boiled.
Right.
Like greens, corn, a lot of plants, a lot of green leafy stuff. But you say steam. Are they the same?
In my book, yes. I suppose I'm cutting corners, but vegetables are difficult to break down in the first place. However, that doesn't mean everyone needs to only eat steamed vegetables. I'm a doctor that when somebody comes to me, they're usually not doing very well. So how do I get them to have their health back? So I definitely take out their salads. I take out their raw foods for the moment. I let them either saute, bake, boil, or steam their vegetables. It's fine with me as long as they don't boil them to death. And that would just kill everything that the reason for having them.
Yeah.
And it's just easier food for the digestive system to have to tackle when it's inflamed and raw and not doing as well as it's supposed to.
So al dente, almost raw.
Totally fine. You can just break down that cell wall a little bit with the heat, and that makes it more available to your system.
So how come you're not on YouTube every week explaining this stuff to people?
I just might be after your suggestion.
I'm telling you, you got the face for it, man. You got that wonderful smile. People will gravitate to you.
Thank you. That's nice.
But seriously, I was serious about that. Help me to understand enzymes for people who might say, well, I take a vitamin, because I realize something. The population in general, they don't do work, they don't do research, and they take advice at face value. And 90% of the time, a small percentage of the information is correct, but the marketing and hype around it is wrong. Mm-hmm. So help people to understand how they would find the enzymes, because if they're not talking to you directly, or if they're just I'm going to go to the health food store and just buy some enzymes. Is there any particular kind that they're buying? Is there ones that are specific for the gut versus other parts of the body, even though they go in the gut?
Right. So in the vitamin world, there really are a handful of companies that are doing it correctly in this country. But there are thousands of vitamins to choose from, and they are not made equally. So I've used a high quality digestive enzyme on my patients for the 28 years I've been in practice. The one that I love is called AbsorbAide, and you can get it from a company called Nature's Sources. You can get onto their website, which is naturesources.com, or you can call the 1-800 number, which is 1-800-827-7656, and you can get 20% off your first order or some free samples if you use the code radio. So that's the one that I use because it's tested, it's true, it works the way that it's supposed to work. And what it's comprised of are the different types of enzymes that break down the different types of foods that we can put on our plate.
All right, I'm going to go back now. We're going to go into your history. What got you into this? Because you're, tell me about your history. Tell me about what made you want to go into health.
One, I was raised with chiropractic. I'm third generation chiropractor. So in our family, mom always took us to the chiropractor before she'd take us anyplace else. She always gave us handfuls of vitamins, and all 5 kids sat around, having contests on who could take the most in one gulp. So we were very used to, we went to health food stores when they were black and white and smelled weird, and there were no colors on all the different types of products.
Yeah.
So we were raised with that. I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor from very young, and I met my husband in chiropractic school, and we opened up a couple of practices in the Chicagoland area. By the way, he's from Michigan.
I live near Chicago now.
Okay, good. And so we were treating patients thinking that we knew it all, and chiropractic was the end all. We found that, yes, we could help a certain percentage of patients if it was just a mechanical situation, but we found that there was a lot of other underlying problems that weren't being addressed. So we found out about hidden food sensitivities. We found out about muscle testing for different nutrients and acupuncture and cranial, all these different types of things. And what we did was we threw the things out the window that didn't work most of the time, and we kept the things that actually worked over 95% of the time. And we really haven't changed much of anything that we've done in the 28 years I've been in practice, because it continues to work if you just do it.
Yeah.
So this is how we evolved, and maybe I've gotten better at explaining it, but the same systems are still the same systems. They still work.
So what's the most miraculous turnaround you've seen?
It happens weekly. I know this sounds silly. I get so used to seeing my patients improve that it becomes more commonplace. It's the ones that are a bit trickier that I have my attention on, because the ones that are good, I forget what they came in with. We treat a lot of diabetics successfully. We treat a lot of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, digestive problems, yes, Crohn's disease, autoimmune disorders. We've helped many women with hormonal imbalances and keeping babies and not miscarrying and getting pregnant. And, anything that can go wrong with the body, it goes wrong at one point. And if you can get a person much more efficient in how that body should be working for them, we don't really fix a single thing. All we do is bring back the function that's been lost by the bad habits or the injuries or whatever they didn't know about that kept their bodies, from being as optimal as it should be.
I have a question about hypertension, because hypertension is rampant in the African American community. And in recent we've realized that there are food deserts in most of these communities that are for people of color, and that's mostly all people of color. Are there any methodologies related to food that can help control that as well?
It would be the same principles. I look at hypertension as a balloon that's been filled too full. And what's happening is somebody's trying to bring the balloon down with the medication from the outside. All you need to do is find out what the heck blew that person up that caused too much pressure, which is high blood pressure. And if you handle the inflammatory problem that's causing the extra pressure in the body, I actually have to warn my patients when they get on my program, if you're taking blood pressure medication, I'm not legally allowed to take you off of it, but I do need you to know you better start measuring this every single day. You better get a line in with your medical doctor, and because you don't want to be dangerously taking medication when your body is no longer high blood pressured.
Gotcha. Now, how can people find out more information about your work?
If they go to the Nature Sources website, they can go to naturesources.com. They can find out all about the digestive enzymes, a little bit more about myself. They can go to the Florida Wellness Institute.
It happens.
Which is my website. And on top of it, my husband wrote a book a number of years ago called The End of Health Roulette by James Gatza. And it explains leaky gut so brilliantly that sometimes during these shows, I open up the chapter just to see how beautiful the diagrams are that go through and explain it to, somebody that isn't terribly high IQ. And by the time they're done with the book, they really understand what normal is, how it goes south, and the number of things that you can do to actually get your body back online.
Are you originally from the East Coast?
Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. I went to school in Lombard at the chiropractic school. My husband's originally from Michigan, and we practiced in Chicago for 9.5 years and then moved to Florida.
Well, very good, because it's warm, because these winters suck. Well, Are you doing any lectures? Are you doing any, are there any groups? Is there any more material that people can digest from you to help them out in this journey?
If they get on the Florida Wellness Institute, we will have some links on some things. I lecture locally quite a bit. The book is really, it's one of those things I forget. It's such a beautiful source of information for my patients. So, that would be worthwhile getting because it has pretty much everything that we do in it. And it has at the end of the book all sorts of normal questions and answers, are the most common ones that I'll open it up someday and go, oh yeah, that's the most brilliant way to explain it, and turn around and be a better doctor because I had better words for how to explain something.
Well, Doc, I want to thank you for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Why, thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we go from here. If you didn't think you were a billionaire, let's go back to your inception when your mommy and your daddy were playing a little game and you kind of came out of that because they traded information. One cell met another cell, and then the power of the cosmos caused them to dance. 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16, so on, till 30 days later, you were over 1 billion cells and you weren't even in the world. So you are a billionaire. So since we're talking to the doc, we're going to take it to the gut flora. There are trillions of cells and you own those and they help you to run. Remember, because the cell is the representation of self. Get it? CELLSELF. Hear how they sound? Hear how it plays out? We are fractal. Look, it's really simple. Life is great. We are in the Garden of Eden. If you look at any doctrine, they said everything is here for you. All you have to do is use it properly. We've augmented it. So let's get back to using it properly. And if you're not feeling that well, if you feel like you're getting at the end of yourself and you're just not feeling it, and you're at the end of your rope, here's what you simply do. I want you to tie a knot in that rope of life, and I want you to just hang there for a while. Don't do anything. Just hang there till you get ready and you feel better and you can pull yourself up and you can start again. Till next time, love you all. Peace.